All right, so we're finally getting into some of the good stuff here. We're going to be talking about ancient Greece. And Greece is probably one of my favorite sections of World History 1 because there's so many interesting people, so many, sort of important things that we talk about when we talk about Greeks. All right, so just a little bit of a background about Greece. Historical background. The island of Crete, if you look down, you see what's circled here. The island of Crete was home to a very early civilization called the Minoans. These people were traders who set up posts throughout the Aegean world. And the Aegean world would be the Aegean Sea. It's sort of, I guess from this map, it might be a little bit hard to, understand where the Aegean Sea is. We're going to look at our map, and you should have completed your map already, but the Aegean Sea is over to the east of what you see there, Mycenae, or Greece itself. It's over to the east, in between the Greek mainland and Asia Minor there. So when you look at Greece, you see Greece right there. You see that they're going to become traders on the sea. So the Minoans, they vanished around 1400 BC, and here is why: a sudden volcanic eruption, earthquake, and a huge, huge tidal wave. Invaders called the Mycenaeans, who were the first Greek-speaking people, kind of came in there and mopped up what was left of the Minoans, all right? So the Mycenaean civilization dominated the Aegean region from 1400 BC to 1200 BC. The region enters what we consider a dark age, all right? So one of the more interesting things, sea traders who lived in separate city-states, the Mycenaeans fought in what's called the Trojan War against Troy. It's one of the most famous sort of wars that we ever really talk about. There's a great movie called Troy. I'm going to have a video that shows you the great warrior Achilles, and one of the best lines in any movie that you'll ever see. But the Trojan War was with Troy, a trading city, and you should see that on your map as well. They controlled vital straits connecting the Mediterranean and Black Seas. This is going to become a very important area even later on when we talk about the Byzantines and we talk about stuff like that. You're going to see that area that was controlled by the Trojans, or Troy, is very, very important, okay? Two epic poems of this era was attributed to a blind poet named Homer. Right? And it helps our understanding of this very early era. I'll also have some videos on these, but first off, you have the Iliad. Okay, the Iliad tells a story about the Trojan War and the adventures of Achilles, the mightiest Greek warrior. And what I want you really to watch this video that I put on here about Achilles fighting. And there's this great scene where this kid goes, that's the biggest man I ever saw. And, he goes, I wouldn't want to fight that guy. And Achilles said, that's why no one will remember your name. One of the greatest lines of any movie. So I'm definitely going to put that on there so you can see it. And Achilles was, the mightiest Greek warrior, but at the same time, he has a weakness, and that would be his Achilles heel. On your heel, you have an Achilles tendon. It's named after Achilles. And it's really one of those things, when people rupture their Achilles, it's really a bad thing, and it takes a lot, of time to recover from that. Some people never really recover from it. But the Iliad and then the Odyssey tells the struggle of the Greek hero Odysseus as he tries to return home after the war. So two really, really awesome epic poems by Homer. And as you look at this, and when you watch the videos, I want you to think about Homer writing the Iliad and the Odyssey. All right, so why is Greece the way it is? Most of why Greece really developed city-states and wasn't unified is based on its geography. The physical geography of the Aegean Basin really shaped the economic, social, and political development of Greek civilization. The expansion of Greek civilization through trade and colonization led to the spread of Hellenic culture across the Mediterranean and the Black Seas. So the Greeks had very little farmable land, arable land is what we call that. So they had to sail and trade with other people to get, grain and food and things like that. Okay. So the mountains really, separate the Greeks into city-states, individual city-states, instead of one unified, like, big country, okay? How did the mountain seas, islands, harbors, and peninsula and straits of the Aegean Basin shape the Greek economic, social, and political development patterns of trade? So let's look at the location of Greece. It's located on the Aegean Sea. We consider Greece a peninsula where you have, water that surrounds it on three sides. It's located in Europe, but you see it's very close to Asia Minor. Many of the islands, separate, Greece and Asia Minor in that Aegean Sea. The Mediterranean Sea is located to the south of Greece. It's very close to the Black Sea and the Strait of Dardanelles. We'll look at that on your map. You have the main city-states here are Athens, Sparta, and Troy. On our next lesson, we're going to look, a lot more deeply into these city-states, and especially Athens and Sparta, and give you a good idea of what it's like to have lived in those places. Then you have Macedonia to the north of Greece, and eventually Greeks will fight a series of wars, and it will lead to them becoming very weak, and Macedonia will take over Greece, and then it will start the age of Alexander the Great. But we'll look at that a little bit later on. And when you look at this map, it's very interesting. You can see the city-states are like red dots. You can find Athens over here closer to the Aegean Sea. And Sparta is in what looks kind of like a hand claw or, a piece of chicken or something like that. I don't know what a good way to look at it, but, it's not really located on the coast or anything like that. Athens would become big sea traders across the Aegean Sea. This is how they would get their food, how they would get grain, because they had very little farmable land. Okay, you'll see the Mediterranean Sea is located below the Peloponnesian or the Peloponnesus peninsula there, and Greece stretches out, and you look up there at the very top, you see Macedonia to the north, right above Mount Olympus. All right, if you're looking for Troy, look where we have the Aegean Sea and then Asia Minor. Right before you get to the Black Sea at the very bottom, you have Troy. Troy sits in a very important part of the Aegean Sea, because if you want to get to that Black Sea, you have to go through their very narrow Dardanelles Strait and that channel that would take you there. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to go over this. You have a map that you should be looking at. Don't worry about this part right here, but we're looking at the economic and social development of Greece. You had very little arable land. Arable means farmable, very little farmable land, okay? So think about it, you don't have a lot of land where you can grow food, so what are you going to do about that? How are you going to deal with that sort of thing? All right, so they became traders, all right? They would trade with other cultures and spread their own culture through cultural diffusion. And what I mean by that is a lot of people, there's a movie that talks about this in great detail. Greek culture was considered very, very advanced for that time period, and people really liked it. So when they would trade, they would spread Hellenic or Greek-like culture, okay, Greek-like culture. So the Greeks, when they traded with people, they spread their culture, and in a lot of ways, a lot of the things that you even see today comes from the Greeks. There's a movie called My Big Fat Greek Wedding or something like that, and at the beginning, the father tells the daughter how everything in the world comes from the Greeks. And it's a little bit true, definitely a lot of culture, a lot of things that we look at comes from the Greeks, and we'll look a little bit more as time goes along. A shift from barter to a money economy. So a barter economy is basically trade. Back in the old ancient times, if you wanted something, let's say that you had 2 chickens and you wanted a cow, you might try to trade your 2 chickens for a cow, okay? Trading one item for another. So this is a shift to money economy and the use of coins. And so whenever I think about money today, people go, well, money isn't really real anymore. And that's kind of true. We're not based on the gold standard. Money is a means of exchange. So your money, when you go to work somewhere and somebody gives you money, it represents something you're going to use as a means of trade. Okay, so you're using coins now, and this makes trade a lot easier. So money economy is easier than a barter economy because look, let's say you have that chickens, the 2 chickens, you want to get a cow. Instead of hauling your chicken somewhere, hauling your cow somewhere to meet with someone, you simply sell your chickens, get the money, and then take it and buy the cow. Okay? It makes things a lot easier. There you see some of the very first Greek coins there. Okay. If you look on the left, when we talk about the gods and goddesses, that is the goddess Athena. All right, and then you see over on the right-hand side the owl. All right, and if you want to take a guess of where this money comes from, this actually comes from Athens, where Athena is the patron goddess of Athens. And we'll look at Athens in Greece in the next lesson. So political development. What was it like to live in Greece during this time period? Well, mountainous terrains helped and hindered the development of city-states. And what that means is really simple. The mountains, kept them apart in some kind of way and forced them to, I guess, create city-states instead of being one unified country, okay? City-states were designed to promote civic and commercial life. So, especially like when you think about Athens. Athens is where smart people live, all right? Civic life would involve, some kind of political involvement, all right? Loyalty. If you're from, this area, Bassett, you're loyal to Bassett, hopefully. You don't really like Magna Vista and Martinsville all that much, right? Same thing for the Greeks, okay? Promoting civil and commercial life. Greek city-states were designed for people to go, this is my city-state. I like it a lot better. I'm going to participate in my city's things. I'm going to help the people in my city-state. I don't like the Spartans. I don't like, people in other city-states as much. I'm very loyal to my city-state, okay? Colonization related to overpopulation. So they would colonize other areas basically to, try to find arable, farmable land. And those colonies would be used to quickly bring food and supplies in to, especially like Athens and areas like that, okay? So, what sea was most important to the Greeks? All right, the Aegean Sea is the most important sea to the Greeks. What were the two political units? What were the political units of ancient Greece called? These are your city-states, okay, city-states. Name two of them. Athens and Sparta are the most famous. You'll see those in the next sort of lesson there. How did the physical landscape of Greece affect its economic development? Well, mountains, mountainous terrain, lack of arable land led to colonization, and Athens taken to the sea to look for arable land and farmable land and food. Why did they establish colonies? Basically, the lack of farmable land, arable land, led them to establish colonies. All right, that's all for this. Was a very quick one. So if you'll, look at this, and then we'll look at Sparta and Athens in the next slideshow.